Ready? Today's unanimous Supreme Court ruling is a landmark win. It's a landmark win for all of our public servants. The decision is clear. Governor Bevin and the General Assembly violated the state's Constitution. They violated the Constitution by the way they tried to cut the retirements of every teacher, police officer, firefighter, social worker, EMS, every state, city, county, and school employee that leaves their family every single morning to serve ours. When the General Assembly and the governor took those actions, when they passed this sewer bill, I made a promise that I would sue and that we would win. We have kept that promise. We sued and we won. But today's decision is a landmark win for all of our Kentucky families because it makes our government treat them with dignity and respect. Our government should never lock the people out of this Capitol or out of the legislative process. Our governor should never call our public servants names. And our elected leaders should never put themselves above the people they serve. Today's ruling is finally a landmark win for transparency. An 11-page sewer bill can never again become a 291-page pension bill and pass in just 6 hours without legislators even having the opportunity to read it. From this day forward, the legislature has to act in the light of day and never again under the cover of night. I want to thank my two partners in this litigation, the Kentucky Education Association and the Fraternal Order of Police. They had the courage to stand up, to step out, and to fight back. And to the 200,000 plus families of our active public employees and the hundreds of thousands of retirees who knew they were next, representing you has been one of the honors of my lifetime. And I am proud that along with the KEA and the FOP, we were able to deliver a resounding win. Stephanie?
Hello, my name is Stephanie Winkler. I'm a fourth grade teacher on leave from the Madison County School District, currently serving as the president of the Kentucky Education Association. KA is very pleased with this positive decision from the Supreme Court. We're thankful for the brothers and sisters in the Fraternal Order of Police and Attorney General Beshear for their support in this effort to right a wrong for the public educators and all public employees. Public employees across the Commonwealth will not see the promise of their retirement benefits broken by a law passed in the dark of night. This was the right decision by the court. This decision provides hope that our government is truly about protecting the rights of its people. We hope this decision will restore the honesty, integrity, values, and transparency that Kentuckians expect and frankly deserve from our elected officials. Educators want to be a partner in a responsible solution that addresses pension funding for the long term and preserves the financial health of all of our retirement systems. Public schools and the employees that serve them are here to serve every single family of the Commonwealth, no matter what zip code they live in. Our schools provide vital services for all students and provide the high-quality education we need for a motivated and robust workforce. KA represents many of these employees and is happy to have been the education organization that helped bring this issue to the courts. We just did the right thing. It's not any different than what we try to teach or show our students every day. The decision by the Kentucky Supreme Court today will go a long way in preserving our professions because we want to be able to attract and retain the best and brightest to educate Kentucky's children. Keeping a defined benefit pension system for our public employees is one of the ways we keep and retain good employees. Many Kentucky counties, public education and the public school district is the #1 employer. And when so many are giving their entire careers educating our children, we should be able to assure them that these systems will be there for when they retire. Again, we applaud this unanimous decision by the court and its commitment to preserving the rule of law and the legislative process, because Kentuckians and our students deserve no less.
Amen. Jerry?
Good morning. I'm Jerry Powell. I represent the Kentucky State FOP. First off, thank you all for being here this morning. I also wish to thank Stephanie with the KEA, and most importantly, I wish to thank Attorney General Andy Beshear. Thank you very much.
Other people do it too.
Yeah. This is a very important decision for the future of Kentucky.
Yes.
The Fraternal Order of Police would like to thank the Kentucky Supreme Court for their thoughtful and important decision today. With the passage of the Senate Bill 151, the sewer bill, Kentucky began to lose many valuable employees. The experience and knowledge that we lost has hurt this Commonwealth and the first responders. We need to look at our employees as a valuable asset. Hopefully with this decision today, we will attain our most valuable asset, those employees.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And now we're happy to take any questions. Adam?
General, the House Republican leaders have already put out a statement saying that this is going to lead to a parade of legal challenges against hundreds of bills that have already been passed like this.
Then Adam, they haven't read the Supreme Court opinion, which says that that parade of horribles is not going to happen. And that was an opinion agreed upon by all 7 Supreme Court justices. So I think we can say under the law that that is not a legitimate argument.
What about Republicans who say this will mean an end to public pension?
Well, that raises the question of which Governor Bevin you're talking about. Because when this bill passed, he said it wasn't even a drop in the bucket. So just because he changed his story and started fear-mongering in an attempt to secure a win doesn't make his assertions factual. Long-term, what the pension system needs is a new dedicated source of revenue that goes directly to pensions and that doesn't raise anyone's taxes. That's the only way that all of our public servants don't have to be in Frankfurt every 2 years, making sure that their legislators keep the promise and the legally required promise to fund their pensions. Well, in my opinion, it ought to come from expanded gaming, including casino gaming, including sports betting, fantasy sports, and I think we ought to prepare for online poker. I believe that we currently lose a little over $500 million in taxable revenue that's going to other states. And having whatever amount it is, it's in the hundreds of millions, going into the pension system every single year, along with the licensing fees that would start, is a great start to us as a state living up to our obligation of truly funding this system.
And can you address the criticism about this is an overreach into the judicial branch or into the legislature by the judicial branch?
Well, all 7 Supreme Court justices ruled against that argument. Again, a unanimous opinion means that this case wasn't close, that this legislature and this governor violated their oath to uphold the Constitution, and that's a very serious thing. So as they approach this next session, I hope they consider that their actions violated the Constitution and that all 7 Supreme Court justices saw it that way. At the end of the day, we make 2 promises when we become state officials. We put our hand on the Bible and we promise not to fight a duel and to support and uphold that Constitution. I believe that this is one of the most blatant constitutional violations of the legislative process that we've ever seen. I mean, taking an 11-page sewer bill, turning it into a 291-page pension bill, not giving one teacher, one police officer, one firefighter the chance to comment on it, passing it in 6 hours without letting people read it, and doing it that way because they couldn't pass their original bill in a transparent manner was an attempt to take government of the people and turn it into a government hidden from the people. So no, I think the Supreme Court justices just did their job. And this was a clear constitutional violation.
Is this a momentum shift for Democrats in heading into the 2019 election?
I don't think this is about politics. It's about right and wrong. Everyone seems to view our world right now as right versus left, but this is right versus wrong. Because we have hundreds of thousands of state employees that come from all political parties, and they dedicate their life to public service, to teaching our kids, to protecting our families, our social workers who walk into dangerous situations to protect the neglected. And they live up to their side of the bargain. They give decades of their lives and they're underpaid. And this legislature and this governor tried to break the state side of that bargain. So at the end of the day, this is just right versus wrong, and I'm glad the side of right won.
You're not concerned that this could open the door for people to challenge other laws passed the same way?
Supreme Court addressed that in their unanimous verdict. They said this is very different than bills that have been passed and laws that have been on the books for some time, and they said we just don't see this parade of horribles happening. And again, in the past, this argument happens every single time someone challenges the constitutionality of a statute. And every time the legislature says that Western civilization will fall if the Supreme Court makes them follow the Constitution. Well, Western civilization might fall if our governments and our democracies didn't have to follow the Constitution. We've never seen the parade of horribles come about. They're going into a legislative session. If they're that worried about it, they can repass the laws that raise any concerns, but just take any law that's been amended in that previous time has been repassed in a transparent way. So no, I see no harmful effects in terms of other bills coming out of this whatsoever.
If and when the legislature does take a second attempt at a pension reform law, what kind of advice do you have for
Right.
them? What do they need to avoid the next time around?
Well, they need to follow the law. And the law is that for every single public servant who has started their service, the inviolable contract as of the day they've started that is in effect at that point is something that our government can't break. Because again, that's their compensation package when they come in. That they could take a job in the private sector that paid them more, but they want to protect our families. And what our state says is because of our budget, that we're not going to pay them enough, but we are going to secure them a good retirement. That promise is made at that time. It's legally enforceable, and this legislature cannot break it.
But the ruling did not address that, the inviolable contract. And
That's
the
right.
substance of the bill.
But I provided the 2 letters the last time that went through every single part of the bill that violates the inviolable contract. And as we sit here today, when I've told the legislature what's constitutional, I think it's fair to say I've been right. Today, the arguments that we put forward as far as process were adopted unanimously by the Supreme Court. So I would hope that the legislature, instead of being combative, actually wants to follow the law and the Constitution.
Why do you think the court didn't address that, and are you concerned about that in the future?
They didn't have to. One of the kind of directions in law that all judges follow is that you only answer typically what you have to. Once they decided the bill had been illegally passed, it could have never gone into effect. So they don't reach the contents of it because the bill itself is invalid. And in their terminology, what that would mean if they continued would be an advisory opinion. And as a matter of law, they typically don't give what are called advisory opinions. So they followed their normal process.
Stephanie, if you could address the question of the future of the pension system. You know, the governor and others are going to say this threatens the future of the pension system and retirement of teachers.
Well, what I would say is that, as you all saw over the last year and during the last session, educators are not uninformed, they're not ignorant, they're not thugs.
No, they're not.
They are informed receivers of a defined benefit pension that was promised them when they were hired. And we are here to protect our current professions, including our classified school employees and our brother and sisters who also pay into other public employee pensions. There are 9 systems that need to be considered here, not just one. There are 9 systems that have different nuances and details within them that affect different types of public employees. We need to be informed citizens. We need to be informed taxpayers and pay attention to what our lawmakers are doing to us and to our public services that we depend on for our communities to thrive and survive well into the future. And mark my words, be assured that teachers are going to be on the ball. They will be paying attention if and when such a type of bill is ever tried to be passed again. And we want to underscore that we have always and will continue to want to be a part of a solution to things that could be changed to make our pension system viable for many more generations of educators to come. But because of what's happened over the course of the last year, it is getting harder and harder to recruit officers, to recruit teachers, to recruit bus drivers, to recruit substitute teachers, to keep people from retiring earlier than they may want to because of the threat of promises being unkept and broken. And so I assure you that educators are paying attention, and we will show up and make our voices heard.
But again, what about the threaten the pension systems themselves.
Fear
That's just
Can I-
false. It's
can I
just
answer that?
trying to just put fear into people that he thinks are ignorant and are not.
I'd like to address that question for you. I would like to rely on the findings of the actuarial studies conducted by the actuarials that were retained by KRS and also KTRS that says that in 30 years will reach a very substantive level. For the K non-hazardous, it shows in 30 years will be funded at 70%. So I would go more with the scientific and mathematical based findings as opposed to what somebody may think.
Does the KEA and FOP support expanded gambling to provide revenue fund for pension systems?
Well, I only speak for KEA, but our position has always been that we support anything that provides additional funding to public schools. We are focused on public schools and public school funding. We've offered several ideas in the past. We've mentioned many, many times before that our budget in this state is upside down. We give away many more tax credits than we take in revenue. And until we address that problem and do meaningful tax reform, we don't have to raise taxes for our citizens. We need to address the problems that we currently have and continue to fight for the working people of this state.
Did you have them come out, yes or no, on expanded gambling?
Yes, we have. Yes. If it has dedicated streams of money that support public pensions or public schools, yes.
Right. And at least my proposal is 100% of that revenue to the pension systems until fully solvent.
What about the FOP?
We support any dedicated revenue stream that will lessen the burden to the taxpayers, secure our futures for all first responders and all public employees.
Okay. Anybody else? Yeah.
I know we addressed this already a little bit.
Sure.
But, the phrases, this won't happen in the dark of night and stuff, that
Right.
keeps coming up again. And I know the court did address this somewhat, however, is it troubling to know that how many other laws have been passed in
Oh,
such fashion?
Listen, wrong is wrong. And I'm glad that we were able to put a stop to this practice once and for all. One of the most concerning arguments I heard out of the governor's office when we raised this issue of you're shutting out the public, you are tricking them, you're turning a sewer bill into a pension bill was, but we do it all the time. Well, that's the best reason to make it stop right here and right now. And thanks to the KEA, the FOP, and the Attorney General's office, they'll never be able to do it again. All right, thank you all very much.